Hey guys, welcome to SmackDown Wrestling Reviews. I am your host Boise, and this is Raw versus SmackDown. If you're new to the channel, it's pretty much this. We look at Raw and SmackDown, we give them scores out of 5 for each segment, and we see which show won for the week. Before we get started, guys, I just want to have a quick message and just say thank you so much for checking out my Money in the Bank review video. Hell, I did not expect that many people to check it out, so thank you so much. Even if you liked it, hated it, thank you. Just thank you for checking out the video. That's all I wanted to say. Now before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe and press that bell to keep notified with all the content here at Smack Talk Wrestling. With that said and done, let's get straight on with it. Let's hit the music. So we kicked off Raw with Paul Heyman and his client, the 2019 Money in the Bank winner, Brock Lesnar. This was a great sell for WWE. They just let Paul Heyman do what Paul Heyman does best. He sold the show. He made everyone invest in watching the show right to the end. He was just brilliant at it. He went straight away. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with Brock and cashing in. Seth Rollins does interrupt Paul Heyman's fantastic promo. He comes out, he pretty much threatens and challenges Brock Lesnar to cash in his Money in the Bank now and take him on right this moment. Paul Heyman interrupts Seth. He goes, "Why would Brock challenge you when it could be a new challenge he's looking for, maybe a new day?" This obviously was a call out for Kofi Kingston. Kofi did come out thanks to the wild card stipulation. He goes straight into Brock and he challenges Brock straight away, but he challenges him completely different to how Seth does. And with Kofi, he's very much like, I'm going to be a fighting champion and I'm happy to take on anyone, including Brock Lesnar, for this title. And it was interesting to see the differences between Seth and Kofi. Both very much similar champions, fan favourites on both shows, but Seth felt like he was the one who was very much intimidated by Brock Lesnar being Money in the Bank holder, while Kofi didn't seem intimidated. He seemed like he wanted this fight. It was very much he wants to prove himself as that fighting champion. So it was quite interesting to see how both men came across in this one. Paul Heyman made an announcement that both Kofi and Seth will be on later on in the show, and Brock Lesnar will be staying all night to watch how their match goes in their tag team match. Really good sell by Paul Heyman. That line alone, saying Brock's going to stay on and watch how their match went, made it that all the fans had to stay tuned even to the last hour segment just to see what happened. I think it was a great segment, great opening from Raw. So for me, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Very solid performance by Kofi, Seth and Paul Heyman. Next up we had Sami Zayn versus Braun Strowman, but before the match started we had Sami Zayn talking to Bobby Lashley backstage. Bobby Lashley will be taking on Braun Strowman at the Saudi Arabia show, Super ShowDown. Sami is there begging Bobby to help him out. Continuation here, really well put together. He begs him. Bobby says no. This is obviously a hint to what happened months back when Sami was a heel and Bobby was a babyface, and they had that feud. And then it's nice to see consistency in storytelling, and we don't often see that in WWE, so that was a nice little touch. Sami goes out to the ring, Braun comes out, Sami pegs it backstage. He tries to get away from Braun Strowman. There's a little bit backstage where you see Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley kind of eye each other down. Sami's there. Best bit about this for me, Sami begging Bobby to do something. Bobby just ignores him. He walks away and Braun drags Sami to the ring. Pretty much very quick match, very quick segment. Braun Strowman wins. I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. It's nice to have consistency in this match because obviously it's a hint to when Bobby Lashley and Sami Zayn were feuding at the time. So yeah, I think consistency was well put together. I like the backstage videography. I thought that was well produced. So for, like I said, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. So we had the first interview, well, supposedly the first interview with Lars Sullivan. Lars was asked to come to the ring to pretty much state his word. This again, I just don't understand. Lars comes out before he gets interviewed by Charlie. The Lucha House Party come out to attack Lars Sullivan. They do an okayish job. Lars overpowers them. It looks like Lars is about to absolutely destroy the Lucha House Party. They manage to escape, and that's about it for this segment. Lars Sullivan, if you watch his stuff on NXT, he's a well-spoken man. So in promos, so this just doesn't make sense. They're not allowing him to speak, which may be a good thing if you look at his internet history. But it's just, I don't understand this. It's very, very simple. Lars is supposed to be a SmackDown superstar, so why is he on Raw to do interviews? That's one thing which didn't really get to me. And then the Lucha House Party attacking. They're meant to be the baby faces. I get it, they're trying to get revenge of what Lars did to him at Money in the Bank. But end of the day, it just reminds me so much of what Braun Strowman did back in the day, and which just, you know, it's just too similar to what Braun was doing. For me, I'm going to give this a 1 star out of 5. I just thought it was a wasted segment on Raw. Next up, we had Cesaro versus Ricochet. This all started backstage when Ricochet was getting checked out by the medical staff at WWE. Cesaro interrupts him. He goes, just give him an ice pack and give him the day off. You know, this is the lazy generation. Ricochet goes, well, I'm more than ready to take you on. They have a match, and this was a fantastic match by Cesaro and Ricochet. Two amazing athletes pulling off moves. Ricochet just pulls off moves which is absolutely impressive. Someone did show a video clip showing these type of moves being done before on Cesaro, and it shows how good Cesaro is. It's when Cesaro was taking on Kalisto a few years ago, and Kalisto did pull off quite a few of the similar moves that Ricochet did. But still, I was still impressed back then when those moves happened. So seeing them again, you kind of forget that it did happen, and you see it for like you did with Ricochet. You just go, my God, Ricochet is absolutely talented. But you got to give Cesaro all the credit. He was absolutely impressive. Another thing with this match was we got Cesaro's new intro as well, with his new music. They've got rid of the bar music now and pretty much focus on a new one. I'm hoping this music grows on me. I kind of liked his intro music he had before the bar, so it's a shame they've gone to pretty much a generic kind of intro music for Cesaro. But the match, like I said, was absolutely fantastic. Cesaro did win with the neutralizer, and that was awesome. Again, Ricochet selling all of his injuries from Money in the Bank was very, very impressive. The lad has so much talent. Cesaro is absolutely one of the most underrated wrestlers in the company, and he's for me one of the most strongest men in the company. He should be getting pushes, so having a victory over someone like Ricochet just makes sense. Makes more sense that Ricochet would lose to Cesaro after being absolutely injured at Money in the Bank and then losing to Robert Roode. But yes, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. Absolutely amazing match. Next up, we had the big dog. Yes, Roman Reigns is on Raw yet again. This is the 3rd week on the trot that he has turned up on Raw. You know, he's actually a SmackDown superstar. Just to let you know, he is a SmackDown superstar. You wouldn't have guessed. You wouldn't have guessed if I hadn't told you. But yes, he comes out. He's about to cut a promo. He's interrupted by Shane O'Mac. They pretty much exchange words. Roman accepts Shane's challenge at Super ShowDown in Saudi Arabia, and he also pretty much announces that Drew McIntyre is his muscle. Shane does say that he's over the Miz, and now all his focus is on Roman Reigns. We do get a backstage bit with the Miz confronting both Drew McIntyre and Shane O'Mac, saying, you might be over with me, but I'm not over with you yet. And Drew kind of threatens him, and this leads on to a match later on in the show. I'm going to give this a 1. It's pretty much it. The reason is we didn't need this segment. The match was already announced beforehand, so having it kind of build up like this in the segment just really didn't do too much for anyone. It doesn't build up much of excitement for Shane versus Roman at all. So like I said, I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 stars. Next up, we had possibly the match of the night, where we saw the Usos taking on the Revival. We had like a video package build up as well to this match beforehand, where it showed what the Usos had been doing to the Revival with all the pranks. That video package does nothing for both teams. It really makes the Usos look very immature, and it makes the Revival look like idiots. So it just really didn't do too much. But the match itself really did. It was, for me, the match of the night on Raw, mainly because they are, like, the Usos for me are the best tag team in the world, and the Revival are one of the best tag teams in the world. And you just hear it by the commentating team, what the abilities that these two teams could just pull off, and it was fantastic. The Revival did win with some dirty-handed tricks, aka holding up the trunks, so they got the victory. But end of the day, that was the right decision, in my opinion. Out of all both teams taking each other on, they had a fantastic match. You had a dirty pin because hell, the Revival are heels, but it's a big thing because the Revival have been treated like idiots for so long. Having a huge victory over the Usos is a good thing for them. Hopefully WWE keep this momentum going for the Revival and don't do 50-50 booking. Give them a few matches, yes, but allow the Revival to get the next win. This time round, that makes it feel bigger when the Usos do get their win over the Revival, and then we can have a big blow off if we have a title match on the line for the Raw tag team titles. That's the best way you can build up this rivalry now. Don't do the stupid pranks anymore. Just let them have brilliant matches like they did on Raw, and not just do stupid 50-50 booking with both teams. So for me, I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. Just check it out if you haven't, guys. Next up, we had a moment of bliss. This was Alexa Bliss with her new partner in crime, Nikki Cross, and their guest was former SmackDown Women's Champion and current Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch, the man. This was awesome. Really good little promo between Becky and Alexa. Nikki I like the little bits with Nikki and Alexa. Just makes you really enjoy Nikki Cross being on TV. It's nice the fact they're actually giving her time to shine, giving her opportunities like this. There was a really funny bit before Becky came out. Alexa went, "I'm sure I asked for some coffee." I come out with 2 coffee cups, and Alexa is giving her. She pours Nikki's coffee in her coffee cup because she wanted all the coffee, and just hands the empty cup to Nikki. And Nikki's just like a little girl, like, okay, well, okay. And I just thought that was brilliant. A really good look. Lacey, the IIconics do interrupt Becky's interview. Becky just pretty much says, "I pretty much defended my title more times in one night than you guys have defended your titles since WrestleMania." Lacey Evans comes out as well. She gloats that she's the woman who made it so that Becky did lose her SmackDown Women's title. So she's no longer Becky 2 belts. Becky gets annoyed. She pretty much goes, "Well, it's amazing. I was able to beat you with half concentrating on you and half concentrating on another match." So, and that, again, fair from Becky. Becky challenges both the IIconics and Lacey Evans. They go, "Yeah, but you're outnumbered." Nikki goes, "I will tag with you." And Becky just ropes in Alexa Bliss. She goes, "You don't have to do all, you just need to stand there and look pretty." Alexa's there watching on the match on the ring apron with her coffee. That's fine. Nikki Cross has a great showing again in this type of matching. The IIconics are brilliant. They're good little they're great heels in my opinion, because they don't want to challenge, they don't want to wrestle, they just want to be champions, and they're doing a great job at doing this. It was great to see IIconics in this match. Lacey Evans had a good showing as well. She didn't really do all, she did not want to be tagged in at all in this match. Becky Lynch was absolutely dominant, and Becky did get the victory for her team. Lacey Evans did walk away from the heel team because she realised that they were not going to win, and Becky and Nikki Cross did celebrate in the ring. Alexa comes in, tries to celebrate with Becky. She just walks away, and we have a good, you know, TV match in my opinion. Nothing too memorable for it, but for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. This moved us on to the last hour of Raw, and we had Mick Foley, who had been announced on Money in the Bank to be unveiling a new championship. Mick comes out and he talks about how a champion has to worry about being a champion every day, every hour, 7 days a week, 24 hours, and he unveils the new 24/7 championship. It's the most disgusting championship I've seen in a long time, but you know what? Seeing as the hardcore title was exactly the same, it was a crap belt, but it had a purpose of you had to defend it 24/7. You had hardcore matches. You can't have hardcore matches in WWE, but we're in a PG era. But the 24/7 rule is exciting. Anywhere, any pinfall, as long as you've got a referee, you can win that championship. And I like the stipulation. I'm really excited to see how it goes. Mick Foley's selling off this in this promo was brilliant. He really makes it feel like this title is going to be used to help talent who aren't getting featured on TV, and that's the big thing. I hope it really does. It adds a little bit of chaos and a little bit of comedy to WWE, which I think they kind of need as well. But then he puts the title in the center of the ring and just says, whoever gets the title first is the first ever 24/7 champion. You have guys coming out, you have Cedric Alexander, you have the Good Brothers, you have Titus O'Neil, Drake Maverick comes out to try and get the title. This is a great beatdown from everyone. Titus manages to finally get it off everyone, and he is classified as the first 24/7 champion. Didn't last too long. It lasted like a minute while he was celebrating on top of the ramp. Robert Roode came out with a referee, attacks Titus O'Neil back of him. He pins him, gets the 24/7 belt. Later on in the show, Robert Roode's trying to hide, get away. R-Truth's there in the car park. He goes, "Truth, you got to hide me." He jumps into his boot. All the other superstars who were chasing Robert Roode ask Truth where he is. He went that way, he went that way. They go the wrong way. Robert thanks Truth, he goes, "Thank you so much." And then R-Truth attacks him, and he is now the 24/7 champion. And he's been 24/7 champion ever since. Brilliant. I love this. I think R-Truth's fantastic with it, and I love the little Instagram photo he posted up afterwards where he pretty much goes, "I'm going to SmackDown Live with the new European Championship." You gotta love R-Truth. Drake Maverick as well has been absolutely brilliant with this on social media, talking about chasing him down, asking people if they've seen R-Truth. Going anywhere he needed to go, he's been just asking random people, "Have you seen R-Truth?" And it's just been brilliant. So for me, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up we had The Miz versus Drew McIntyre. Like I stated earlier on in the video, these two had words. This was a really good match between Drew and The Miz. After watching this match, I literally said I want to see a proper feud now between these two superstars, because it did work. The Miz was fantastic. Drew McIntyre, obviously the powerhouse in this one. The Miz had to be smart, and he really did use his environment at its best, and that's the best thing. The Miz, when he's a heel, he uses his environment, he uses everything to win, and having him translate that into a babyface Raw has really worked in my opinion. It did look like a few times Drew was going to get the victory thanks to help from Shane McMahon, who interfered in this match loads of times. Again, still continuing the feud between Shane McMahon and The Miz as well. Drew gets put into the sharpshooter. That looks like that's put him away, but no. He slaps The Miz. He manages to get out somehow. Again, Shane gets involved. Claymore kick. The Miz loses. Brilliant match between two guys. Then Shane McMahon gets involved again, beating down on The Miz. Drew McIntyre as well beats down on The Miz. Roman Reigns comes in for the save, and that's the end of the segment. I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. A solid TV match. Very predictable ending when you have Roman Reigns, who's just been classed as Shane's next opponent, come out and save The Miz. But really good chemistry between Drew McIntyre and The Miz. I really hope we get to see these two continue their feud. Last but not least, we had a tag team match where we saw Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins taking on Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley. This was also just when they were announcing the match. They also announced it was a no DQ match. I wonder who went to the authority and asked them to change the rules of this match. Maybe Paul Heyman, who would know? Yes, the heels did use that to their advantage. They attacked Seth Rollins at the top of the ramp, not giving him any chance at all. Kofi comes comes from the ring to save his tag team partner. The heels really work well here. Non-DQ matches really highlight how much power Bobby Lashley has. Bobby Lashley looked like a tank in these type of matches. I was expecting Drew McIntyre to come out as well when they announced it was a no DQ, but I'm glad they kept Drew away from Braun Strowman, Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley. But yes, the faces had to use a steel chair to kind of equalise. Kofi Kingston did hit Baron Corbin with Trouble in Paradise to get the victory, but that was a very short-lived victory for some time, because Bobby Lashley hit him with the spear. He hit Seth Rollins with the spear, but they managed to beat Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin away with the chairs again. And next thing we know, Brock Lesnar comes down, him and Paul Heyman. It looks like he's going to cash in, but you don't know who he's going to cash in. But Kofi and Seth has taken a lot of damage. Paul Heyman and him go around the ring, and they go back up the ramp, and he goes, "You're in his head, you're in their heads," and that ends Raw. Again, a solid TV match, very short amount of time here, but it just highlights Kofi and Seth as fighting champions, and just again shows Bobby Lashley to be a tank in these type of matches. I'm kind of glad they kept Drew away from Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley for this one. So for me, I'm going to give us a 2.5 out of 5. Now looking on to SmackDown Live. So we kicked off SmackDown Live with Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods announcing the return of Big E. They bring him out. He's got a curtain over him, and they pull it off, and it's not Big E, it's some guy in Big E's in his outfit. They're like, "Dude, get out of here." And then the real Big E does come out. This was okay. I really enjoyed it's good to see the New Day back together. It's fun, it's interesting, but it's a segment we didn't really need, because Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens came out. Kevin didn't really say Sami was doing all the promos. Kevin just walked away, annoyed and angry, mainly because I think it was because in the storyline at least, Big E's only been away for 6 weeks injured, while both Sami and KO were about 7 to 9 months out injured. So with them, it was kind of like, why is Big E getting? But the one thing which I always found funny was when Sami went, "Well, I was off for 9 months injured, and I didn't get anything. You got an Intercontinental Championship match the first night back from injury. So yes, you did get something. You had a title match." But yeah, I do agree with a lot of people. This segment didn't need to open the show. Big E didn't really say KO didn't say at all. It was just a build up to Sami versus Kofi later on in the show anyway, which was announced at the start before Big E came out anyway. So for me, I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. Just a standard opening to the show, but it just didn't need to be there. They could have just used it, you know, have Big E be attacked before the match started between Kofi and Sami, and that probably would have worked a lot better. Next up, we had again a match of the night, because it was Andrade Cien. I was going to say Andrade Cien Almas, but he's not called that anymore. It's Andrade versus Ali. I'll say Mustafa Ali. But yeah, these two just absolutely stole the show for me. First match of the night, and they just have chemistry. I've seen these two work each other already. You just go, they have chemistry. They're really good. But this match really just highlighted how good they are. Both men were selling their injuries from Money in the Bank absolutely fantastically, just like Ricochet was against Cesaro. Both men were pulling off fantastic moves. Ali just selling the back every time. Andrade tried everything just to injure him. And Andrade was a hell of a smart heel in this one. You saw that Ali was injured, his back was injured, so he tried to go for the count out victory each and every time, and he nearly got it. Half a dozen times he nearly got the victory because of that. Then when Andrade finally lost his cool, it looked like he was just going to take Ali out for good. He managed to get a small package on roll up and get the victory. Brilliant victory for Ali. Bit of a surprise. I think a lot of people were expecting Andrade to win this one, obviously, because he has the Intercontinental Championship match coming up at Saudi Arabia. But for me, it just makes sense. Ali was MVP at Money in the Bank. He worked his ass off, and I think him getting these type of build-up matches where we're going to build credit up for him until he's one of the main event stars on SmackDown again just makes sense. So for me, fantastic match. Both guys just stealing the show already. So I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5. Next up, we had Carmella versus Mandy Rose. Before the match started, Carmella was backstage looking for R-Truth, like everyone else was. But she wanted to see her friend. She found R-Truth hiding with a wig on, and she goes, "I'll help you." She puts him in an even weirder wig. She pretty much drags him out. It's like R-Truth is in drag at this point, hiding, but you know, it's pretty much obvious it's R-Truth, and you know, that does not help R-Truth in the situation at all. Carmella and Mandy Rose have a blah blah type of match. It's one of those matches you go, something's going to happen to interrupt it. Sonya Deville did try to interrupt the match a few times. Mandy Rose got super kicked a few times. Carmella looked the best out of the two, in my opinion, which is good for Carmella, because Mandy's been on the up for some time, and having her show that she's developing really well as well in this type of match really was a good sign as well. But the match was interrupted when all the superstars backstage saw R-Truth and chased him. The referee called off the match, and then we had R-Truth with Carmella on his back running off with the 24/7 title to get away, which he does after backstage, the B team fighting each other to try and pin R-Truth. He manages to escape, and him and Carmella get out of SmackDown alive. I really enjoyed this segment. Again, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to interrupt certain matches, but this match was a throwaway match anyway, so it didn't really make any difference who would win or would lose. And let's be honest, was anyone really going to be that invested in a Mandy Rose versus Carmella match right now? No, we're not. So having the superstars chasing over this new title, yes, it adds a little bit of comedy to the show, but it just goes, look, this title is going to be everywhere, so you need to keep an eye on it. So yeah, I'm going to give us a 2.5 out of 5. I did enjoy it, and I just want to see how far they go with the social media stuff, with the 24/7, and just give Drake Maverick the title as well, because I reckon he's going to be the next Crash Holly with that title. It's just like Crash was with the hardcore title, I think Maverick will be exactly the same. Next up, we had Kofi Kingston versus Sami Zayn. Before the match started though, Big E was attacked backstage. He stated it was Kevin Owens who attacked him. Sami was already in the ring waiting for Kofi. He was smiling. I think obviously Sami knew that KO was going to attack Big E for him to distract KO before their match. KO comes out. This is a very aggressive Kofi Kingston who comes out. He does not waste any time. He wants to take out Sami Zayn to make sure Big E is okay, because they announced that Big E has been sent to a medical facility during the match anyway. And Sami and Kofi have a decent match again. Both guys have good chemistry between each other, really working well. But you see very much a different type of Kofi Kingston, a lot more aggressive than what we've seen before, and that could be an interesting switch which we could start seeing with Kofi Kingston. He's been so far a fighting champion who gets dominated by heels, then finds a way to overcome that dominance. If we can get a Kofi Kingston as well who has to go full on attack berserker mode, that would be cool as well. I think that would work with Kofi Kingston's character. But yes, he goes on to win against Sami Zayn. He's about to go. Paul Heyman comes out with the Money in the Bank suitcase. Like, oh my god, Brock's here. He's got to cash in. Next thing we know, a returning Dolph Ziggler turns up and attacks Kofi Kingston. Absolutely brutalizes him around the ring. Steel chair attacks on his leg, on his head. I mean, he just walks away after the officials just drag him away. Great way to reintroduce Dolph Ziggler. And it's just a fantastic attack. I wasn't expecting. I was expecting someone to attack Kofi. When Paul came out, I was expecting it, but I was not expecting a returning Dolph Ziggler. So I'm really excited to see where this feud goes. And there's a fantastic promo later on, which I'll talk about after this. But for me, I'm going to give the match itself and the attack a 3 out of 5 stars. Really well built up for a future feud. Next up, we had a very strong tag team match where we saw Becky Lynch teaming up with Bayley. So you have the Raw Women's Champion and the SmackDown Women's Champion taking on Lacey Evans and Charlotte Flair. Before the match started, though, again, there's a lot before the match started. Now, Becky and Bayley were interviewed before they went out. Becky said she's kind of happy if anyone apart from Charlotte held the title, it would be Bayley, but she's not going to refuse. She's not giving up on reclaiming her blue belt. That was her words. She wants her blue belt back, and she will be coming after it. Bayley's open to any challenge, and that's what she's looking forward to. The match itself was solid. Lacey Evans again not really getting that involved in this type of match. I don't know if Lacey's injured or something, but very much Charlotte was the more. She was in the match majority of the time. Lacey Evans did get involved only a few times, using the women's right a few times as well. But she was really much on the sidelines, where Charlotte Flair was in the mix of it between Bayley and Becky Lynch. Bayley did get a victory for her team by, again, a roll-up victory. I'm not too disappointed with roll-up victories, especially with Mustafa Ali, who pretty much got it destroyed by Andrade, but refusing to lose, refusing to give up, and using the small package to get the victory. That worked. Bayley as well. Bayley came across as a fighting champion. She didn't look very, like sometimes a small package can make a champion look very weak. For me, this didn't. Bayley's won a lot of matches with this. It's kind of one of her signature moves, in my opinion. So it's fine. It's fine again. So I'm going to give this match, because I really enjoyed it. I think the chemistry between Becky and Bayley was really good, especially before the match when they were talking and Becky stated she wants that championship. Lacey Evans didn't really do much, but Charlotte was brilliant again in this match. So for me, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I think all the women involved, apart from Lacey, really highlighted why they're main event status superstars. Next up, we had Dolph Ziggler. He was caught backstage and tried to be interviewed. She asked him why did he come back and why did he attack Kofi Kingston. He said, look, these are fair questions and they deserve an answer. And he went out to the ring, and he gave his point of view of why he returned. And he talked about how when Ali got injured, Kofi was given this opportunity. He took on the gauntlet matches, he took on the Elimination Chamber, and he goes, it should have been me. You guys embraced him as your champion. It should have been me. A hell of a promo. I can definitely see him making a Dolph Ziggler shirt saying it should have been me, because he just sold that promo. He had a bit of a tear. He was getting booed, but there was a lot of people cheering. Like, you know what? Dolph deserves that as well, and I kind of agree. Dolph is probably up there with Kofi Kingston, a superstar who we just took advantage for so long. Like, we expected him to hold titles, but not the big titles, and if he ever got opportunities, it never felt like he really was going to win it. Kofi was very similar beforehand, and then that Kofi mania started taking over, and then we went, you know what, Kofi deserves this opportunity. And I think that's the same with Dolph. Dolph feels like he was in the same boat as Kofi, but Kofi somehow managed to come out from the other side as the champion. Absolutely fantastic promo by Dolph Ziggler. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't checked it out, even if you have checked it out, I've watched it a few times, and I still think it is one of the best promos Dolph Ziggler's ever pulled out. So for me, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 stars. I was tempted to give it 4, but I think it really does build up the feud. Unfortunately, they're going to have a title match between Kofi and Dolph at Saudi Arabia, so I won't be reviewing that, unfortunately, because I just don't agree with having the glorified house shows in Saudi Arabia. But I will probably keep an eye out on the results, but I just won't be reviewing it. Last but not least, we had Roman Reigns versus Elias. This was a rematch from Money in the Bank. It wasn't really a rematch. We didn't really get much of a match at Money in the Bank, and I think this is why we got it last night on SmackDown. They pretty much were going on the idea that Roman and Elias didn't really have a match. We need to give them the match we kind of promised, and it was a solid match. Again, Elias looked really good in this match. Shane McMahon getting involved, pretty similar to like he did with The Miz against Drew McIntyre. They tried everything. Roman really, I think this was a good Roman match. It's very difficult. You just don't know what status Roman's in. Is he fully capable of having long distance matches, or is he still recovering so much that he can't have these big type of matches? We'll have to wait and see with that. But it just feels like they're just taking it a little bit easy with Roman, giving him these victories, taking on feuds that, they look good. They're going to be alright, but they're not super feuds like we want to see. But yeah, a decent match by Roman. Shane tried to get involved. Shane didn't help Elias in time. Roman managed to spear, get the pinfall. Shane tried to go for the guitar to get Roman. Superman punch. Next thing we know, Drew McIntyre comes out of nowhere. Claymore kick. Roman's down, and you got Drew McIntyre above Roman saying, "I told you it's not over, Roman. I told you." Again, this is just showing Shane's paid assassin might be coming to both Raw and SmackDown every week with Shane as his bodyguard. The match itself, solid. Elias looked good in this match. Roman looked good. It's a standard TV type of match, but I think it elevates Elias a little bit in my opinion. So I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. And there you go, guys. That was Raw versus SmackDown for this week. We also had in the last hour of Raw, we had it go it was like a noir kind of Raw. It pretty much, you only had the Raw, but it was blacked out. Everything else was blacked out. It was very similar, and I think this was because Mick Foley claimed that they're going back for the last hour on Raw every week now. It's going back to basics, and I think that's a great idea. I really like that idea. I like the visuals of it just being all darked out. You just have the Raw logo, no red, no nothing. It's just red and with the logo and black. Everything else is black, and I think that really works. But what am I going to score the shows this week? I think Raw has some really good. I think that the Revival versus Uso match is brilliant, absolutely fantastic. I think that the 24/7 title concept was brilliant. I think Mick Foley sold it really well. Becky Lynch was just brilliant. I think Becky was absolutely brilliant in the Moment of Bliss segment with Nikki Cross. I think those two have chemistry. I like Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss being this odd couple type of pairing. So I'm going to give Raw a 3 out of 5 stars. I think that's a fair score. For SmackDown Live, SmackDown wins this week. Again, it didn't feel like there was a lot of fluff in it. It just felt like everything just continued storylines, and I think it really helped SmackDown. SmackDown, the Ali versus Andrade match was absolutely fantastic. I think that the Becky Lynch and Bayley match was really good as well. The R-Truth little bits around the around the arena, trying to hide from everyone in drag. I don't mind the 24/7. I don't mind certain matches being interrupted. I think Kofi versus Sami, Dolph Ziggler's promo, brilliant. I'm going to give SmackDown Live a 3.5 out of 5. But what show won it for you guys this week? Leave it in the comments below. What was your favourite segments as well? Just leave that in the comments below. If you do like our videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and press that bell to keep notified. If you want to follow us on the old Twitter, it's at SmackTalk YouTube. If you want to follow me on the old Twitter, it's at Boise88. And I'll see you guys next time on SmackTalk Wrestling Reviews.